All right, welcome to part 2 of your final project explained. So it says directions. For this part of the Chapter 5 final project, you'll be creating a mini road trip similar to the one we created in class. In addition to finding 4 cities to drive to, you also need reasons for driving there. Hint, it may be easiest to think of fun things you want to do first and find out what city you need to travel to for this activity. So example, if you want to go to Disney World, that's going to be in Orlando, Florida. Remember, Florida on its own is not a city. You need Orlando in there as well if you want to go to Disney World. So cities I'd want to visit, you could say, hey, I want to go to Orlando, Florida. And you'd write it right in your chart. Why you want to go there? I want to go to Disney World. Easy enough, right? Need a reason for wanting to go there. Boom. Okay. Then you need to do that for 3 more cities. Once you're done with that, you are going to use this chart on the next page to help yourself plot out this road trip. So it says once you've found your 4 cities you're going to be traveling to, plot each of them on the map show using a bright color. Red pen recommended. You could use whatever color you want. I don't really care. And you want to draw a line from Buffalo to connect the cities in the order you want to visit them. Make sure your route makes sense. Make sure you don't do any extra driving. So if, for example, I'm starting in Buffalo, everybody should have a little star right on Buffalo over here. Okay. From there, you're going to be using Google Maps to figure out where these are, and then you're going to plot them. So if I wanted to go to Orlando, Florida, that's somewhere down here in Florida. Maybe I want to go to, I don't even know, maybe South Carolina over here. And then I want to go to Texas, or let's just say I want to go to San Francisco, somewhere over there, and then maybe somewhere up in the northwest over here by Seattle. Okay? So that's the first step, is plotting your cities. Up next, what you would want to do is draw the path in which you're going to visit them. The reason why we want to do this is we want to make sure our trip makes sense. So I'm not going from Buffalo over to the West Coast, back to the East Coast, back to the West Coast, back to the East Coast, and then back up to Buffalo. That is way too much extra driving. That's unnecessary. So if that's the order you give me, you will be losing points. What would maybe make more sense is to start here on Buffalo, travel down the East Coast, go to Florida, go over to California, go up to the Northwest, and then go back to Buffalo. That is a road trip that makes more sense. It's got more flow to it, and you're not doing any unnecessary driving. So this is going to be the order of cities that you do for your project. So this would be your first stop here. Okay, this would be my second stop. Here would be my third stop. And this would be the 4th stop for the cities that I'm going to visit. Now, there's more than one right way to set up a road trip, but this is just an example of how it should look as opposed to that first route where I was going back and forth across the United States repeatedly. Okay? This brings us to our next page where we're actually going to use Google Maps to figure out the distances between the cities. So if I went from Buffalo to Orlando, okay, oh, missed my O in there. So Orlando, Florida is going to be my first stop. So I would go to Google Maps. I would type in, I want to go to Orlando. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to hit my directions. And I'm starting in Buffalo, New York. This is going to spit out the possible routes that there are. In general, I would say just take the one that is the shortest. In this case, it's going to be 17 hours and 54 minutes, and then it's going to be almost 1,200 miles. So I'm going to use that information, and I'm going to plug that in for my answer for this one. So it was 17 hours, 54 minutes, and the distance was 1,182 or 83? 83 miles in this case. So come back here, 83 miles. And that's my first stop right there. So I've recorded my information for that. Now remember, my starting point going to my next city, I'm starting in Orlando because that's where I just ended. Orlando, Florida. And then from there you could say, hey, I want to go to wherever. I'm not sure where your next spot would be. Maybe you're going to go to Atlanta. Maybe you're going to go to Dallas, Texas. Wherever you want to go, that's going to be your next spot right there. And then same thing. We're going to fill out this chart, the rest of it, with a couple more cities and a bunch more distances and times. Next, what I want you to do is calculate your total distance. Very simple. Just add up this whole column. After that, we're going to do drive time. Same deal. We're going to add up our hours and add up our minutes right here. Try and make it so that it makes sense. Your minutes shouldn't be more than 60. Look at your map. Which city is furthest away from Buffalo? So if I looked up at my map up here, definitely, if here's Buffalo, furthest city away is probably going to be one of these West Coast cities, maybe this one right here. But again, just look at your map and try and make the best decision for yourself. Okay. Last page then of our project is between which two cities is the smallest distance. Very self-explanatory. Look at your chart. And here we go. Here's one that's kind of tricky. It says if your car gets 25 miles per gallon, how many gallons, so I'm looking for my gallons, how many gallons of gas will you need for your entire trip? Round your answer to the nearest tenth if necessary. So the way we're going to do this is I know that this is my mileage right here. All you would do to figure this out is you would take your total distance, okay, total distance, and you would divide it by your mileage. So if my mileage in this case was 25 miles per gallon, mileage. So this is just going to equal whatever you got for your total distance from, where is it? That would have been right here, my total distance. From question number 1, I would take my total distance, and that's going to go up top here. And I would divide by my mileage, which they gave me, which is 25 miles. Divide it by 25, and that's going to give me my answer. Okay? That's going to give you your answer in gallons. So I could bring that right into my next question, and it says, based on your previous question, how much will you pay for gas on your trip if it costs $3.25 per gallon? So I'm taking my gallons from this answer down here, multiplying by 325, and getting my total amount of money spent on gas. Last but not least, this is easy. You can really come up with any answer you want as long as you support it. It says, do you believe your car from part 1 is good for the road trip? Explain your reasoning. If it's a car that doesn't get good gas mileage, maybe you say it's not a good thing for the road trip. But maybe it doesn't get good gas mileage, but it's a really good, a lot of space car that's more comfortable for a road trip. So maybe it is a good reason that this car is going to be your road trip car. Give me something talking about things like gas mileage, talking about how much space you have in the car to explain whether your car that you chose is good for this road trip or bad for this road trip. Okay, one or the other. Just support your answer. That's all we got for part 2. That only leaves part 3, where you're going to be creating a PowerPoint, but there will be another video explaining that. So good luck, and go ahead and finish part 2.